Hello, my name is Jenna Bosiger, and you're watching Cryptid Cryptids. On this episode, I decided to go over some stone and stick structures that I've been finding in Bautista Canyon and at the riverbed for a while now. I just went there recently, a few days ago. I found another really strange stick structure that I wanted to share, and then it got me to looking at some of the older stick structures that I found in the area also. So this one I found just a couple days ago. So I went to Bautista Canyon with Waldo, and I decided to park at a place that I used to go with Timber before I moved away and moved back. And so I hadn't been to this spot for like 5 or 6 years. I started just walking towards the riverbed, and I found this strange stick structure made with stones, and it seemed very sturdy. At first, I didn't even notice it as being man-made. I thought it was just a dead tree stump. But then when I looked at it closer, I noticed that it had been placed there and had these stones around it holding it upright. The other strange thing about it is that there was this bone that I found embedded in the base of it. And I mean, I don't know what kind of a bone it is or why there's a bone in it, but that was rather odd. And it also kind of reminds me of another stick structure that I found in the riverbed. You know, since I've been back, I found it since I've been back, and I made a post about it. And what was strange was I had gone back to that riverbed a couple times in the same week. And the first time I found this really interesting stick structure. And, you know, I thought that was rather interesting. And I had taken this picture that day of this tire and this tree stump. And then when I went back a couple days later, the tree stump, the tree branch, and the tire had been used in this nest area to make this really tall stick structure. It was really weird. And so, you know, this Y-shaped, I've been seeing repeated. And then there's also this other one that at the time I didn't think it was man-made, but I still took some pictures of it. And it's got this central base with a Y branch in it, and then like kind of a cone shape around it. And I'm not sure if it's man-made, but I'm starting to think that it is. And then don't forget that since I've moved back, I found 2 other cone-shaped stick structures in Bautista Canyon. And the way that I found those was it was a rare instance when I wasn't driving. And, you know, when I'm not driving, I just stare out the window intensely looking for anything I can find that's unusual or worth taking a picture of. When I was staring out the window, I saw the very tip of what looked like a, stick structure. So, we stopped the car and went and investigated it and found this one. And then the same thing happened with the other one, which was much harder to find, though. I barely thought that I maybe saw the tip of a stick structure. And so we weren't able to pull over at the road there. So we had to pull over up there and then walk down, and found this cone-shaped stick structure as well. And of course, noticing that all of these branches have been broken off, none of them have been cut. And then what looks like the real nest, though, is behind the stick structure, where you can see this mass of just built up sticks and branches and tree stubs and everything. And then looking around the area, I also saw this branch that had been broken off. So that was strange during the summer here because it's just too hot. But since the weather's been getting better, I, just went out for the first time and found this weird Y-shaped structure. I've also found some strange stone circles in both Bautista Canyon and the riverbed. And the thing about it is that in Southern California, fires are a big deal, and nobody is allowed to light any fires in Bautista Canyon or the riverbed. And it's just, fire is not something you want to mess around with down here. So for anybody to be lighting a fire in this area is a scary thought. And most of them don't look like there's been any fires lit, but this one, you can tell that there has been somebody lit a fire here. Now, the other thing is that before I moved away, when I was coming to the riverbed with timber, at this same location, up the river a bit, I found all these stones in circles and stuff along the riverbed that was very unusual in a wide space. I don't know how old. I don't know if some of it's old and some of it's new, but I did get these pictures of it with my friends sitting there. You can see for scale how big it is. And that was in Bautista Canyon at the same place that I stopped at this last time. Another time I found this big pile of blonde fur, which is weird, but here's the picture of it. And another time in Bautista Canyon, I was walking in a very scary place, and it was very overgrown, and it was just, I was terrified, but I kept kind of trying to fight my fear and just to be real careful. Pretty soon I was totally engulfed in the forest, and there was branches all around me, including above me. And basically I got so scared, I eventually had to turn around. But I had taken these pictures, and what's interesting, I didn't notice it until later, but the path that I was walking on, there's a stone circle there with a big rock kind of on the side, but I didn't see that stone circle when I was walking on the path, and in fact, I must have walked right over it. I just thought that was interesting to see that later on in those pictures. People stack stones all the time, and I don't jump to the conclusion. In the riverbed this one time, there were all these stacked stones, except what was unusual about them is that they were perfectly balanced, each stone on top of the other, just very delicately balanced. It looks like you could just blow them over. So obviously they wouldn't be lasting long. And it was there was quite a few of them, just stacks, just balanced stones. And I thought that was interesting. And the other thing is that there's a lot of graffiti in Southern California. No matter where you go, it's really sad to see. I hate it. And it's usually very typical. Even the better graffiti, it's a certain style. It looks a certain way. And these 3 stones that I found in the riverbed have been painted on, but they just don't look like modern graffiti. I don't know. They struck me as odd. And I have found, we'll get into it with my timeline, which I want to get back to, but I have found stones in this riverbed that are questionable as to how old they are or when they were made. These stones, the designs on them, they seem not like typical graffiti, and I'm not saying they're old. Okay, well, I guess that's going to wrap up this video, and thank you for watching this episode about the recent finds I've been finding in Bautista Canyon and my Bigfoot hotspot riverbed. I really do appreciate it, and stay tuned for more because I'm going to get back to my Bigfoot research timeline of events. As you can see, we have quite a ways to go and quite a few series to go to get through the things that happened in my research. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to hear more about this, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. My Bigfoot research at the time, it led me to research other things that I didn't know anything about. And one of them is to talk about all of the research that was done before me in Hemet, why Hemet is a hotspot, let alone my Bigfoot hotspot. It's also a Bigfoot hotspot known because other people have had encounters in Hemet. So there's also been some credible researchers that have done work in Hemet that I would also include, and that would make for an interesting video to hear about the Bigfoot things going on before I was on the scene. Then I ended up studying infrasound, and I think making a video just on infrasound would be really interesting. I've talked about it in a few other videos, but I think it's worthy of its own video. Another thing I studied at the time was eye shine, and there's interesting things to be learned about eye shine. Different animals make different eye shine, and there's something weird about red eye shine too. So I think that would be interesting to research further and make a video on. In regards to Bigfoot, nest making is another thing. And I studied the nests that chimps, gorillas, and orangutans made, the great ape. Then I want to go over some of the major prints that I find and handprints that I find in this area over the years and talk about the anatomy of Bigfoot handprints and Bigfoot footprints, I have got to make a video still about the Hemet Underground. So when I was doing my research back then, I was finding these signs that there was something going on with an underground in Hemet. And then I decided to research it and looked it up on the internet, and you wouldn't believe what I found about the underground in Hemet, including a connection between Hemet, Zanesville, and Westminster, Colorado. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Oh, thanks for watching. All right, until next time, bye.